Islamic Finance 101. And I mean actually this title, Islamic Finance 101. This actually topic, as you see, has three different components: Islamic, Finance, and 101. Let's break it down and find out what's going on here. The first component actually is the finance as an industry in general. When you hear, for example, someone works in the finance, industry, what does it mean, finance industry? In each and every single society nowadays, we have a certain number of people or entities who do have extra wealth. They have money to offer to the society at large, but not as a sadaqah or donation. They are willing to give the money for a retail. So they are willing to offer money. On the other side, there is another group of individuals and entities who are looking forward to get some fund because they do not have sufficient fund. Someone wants to pay for the tuition fees, or to purchase a house, or to start a business, or to upgrade the business, or to cover some necessities, whatever the reason behind looking for the fund might be. And when the society actually is too big, you are not talking about a small community, few individuals who can communicate like directly one-on-one. You need to have a third party or a mediator or a platform, okay, someone who is willing to bring the two different parties together. And that is the main job actually of the Finance Institute. That Finance Institute might be a mortgage company, might be a bank, might be just a finance entity that brings money and gives money to other people within certain rules and regulations and restrictions. So we do have, as you see here, fund mobilization, collecting fund from those who have extra money, and fund utilization, distributing the money for those who are looking for funding, and the fund intermediation, which is the job of the Finance Institute. In this society here, and in any country that does apply or believe in what is called the capitalist economic and finance system, the main job of the bank is to collect money from the investors by just giving them the opportunity to open what's called a saving account. And it could be like a CD, right, like a certified deposit. It could be a T-bill, like bonds, for example, where they receive that money as a loan for a certain percentage of interest. They call it APR, annual percentage rate. So they attract money, they collect money from the community at large, from entities, let's say, for example, for 4% APR. So they secure, they guarantee them 4% annual rate on top of the principal. And they turn around, they give that money to those who are looking for funding, let's say for 10% APR. 10 minus 4, 6%. 6% actually is the commission or the money that they make out of running this business. This is how banks in the society make their money. So that is finance in general as an industry. If you go to any bank, like conventional bank, Wells Fargo, Capital One, Bank of America, Chase, you name it, their main source of income is the difference between the APR that they pay to the investors or to the lenders, right, as opposed to the APR that they charge the borrowers. Their job is to collect money, okay, as a loan, okay, they borrow money, if you wish, and they lend that money for a higher interest, and they make their living from that difference. The main source of funding, okay, is giving a loan. There is no other mode of finance when it comes to the capitalist, regular, riba-based finance system. Loan is the only mode of finance. And you can just try to do mudaraba or musharaka or ijara with Bank of America. They will tell you, you are in the wrong place. I mean, we lend money for interest. Whether that money that you want to borrow is a personal loan or business loan or investment loan or construction loan, student loan, whatever the reason might be, it's a certain amount for a certain APR. You have to commit yourself from the beginning, from the very first day. Okay? In fact, this is a precondition for giving you the money, that you have to commit to pay back the principal and the interest on top of it. If you are not willing to pay interest, then you cannot proceed with that loan to start with. When you add to the term finance, Islamic finance, now you are zooming in and discussing a finance system that belongs to a certain faith or certain belief. We all, alhamdulillah, believe here that Islam is a comprehensive way of life. It's not only like for, spirituality where you just stand and pray. No, it is a comprehensive way of life. There is a social Islamic system, and there is a military one, and there is a finance one, and there is like different systems. One of them is called the Islamic finance system. So when you add the term Islamic to the finance, in addition to the above, it should come to your mind that in the Islamic finance system, whether you are the one who is advancing money, or you are the one who is receiving the money, or you are the finance institute who like manages bringing those two different parties together, every single individual has to have or maintain the highest level of transparency and integrity while doing business. Nothing called a surprise when it comes to contracting other people. No one would say in the future, oh, you know what, I didn't know that. Everything has to be clear on the table, agreed upon. Who is paying money, who is running the business, who is responsible for the loss, who is making decision. What if one of the partners want to change his mind and just take an exit? What if someone committed to paying a certain amount of money but he did not commit? What if someone passed away? All these different what ifs, right, have to be incorporated in the agreement, whether it is a verbal agreement or written agreement. So down the road, no one would say, oh, I didn't know that, right? That because lacking that transparency and integrity from day one is the main reason behind having business disputes between people. They do not clarify and clear and verify everything from day one. In the Islamic finance system, you have to make sure that everything is clear. Islamic finance is all about ethics and values. Ethics and values. Even if that project that you want to sit down and discuss and put our resources together, even if it is so profitable, like makes a lot of money, as long as that project or that product is in a clear contradiction of the Islamic principles and the ethics of the society at large. Something belongs to winery, belongs to adult entertainment, belongs to alcohol, belongs to gambling, anything that is explicitly prohibited. We cannot even sit down and discuss business. So in the Islamic finance system, permissibility overrides or supersedes feasibility. Permissibility supersedes feasibility or profitability. We do not care about the profit in the same way that we care about the ethics and the value of the society. So in the Islamic finance system, you cannot get involved in any business that's in a clear contradiction of the principle and the ethics of the society. Commoditization and asset-backed. In the Islamic finance system, you have to make sure that in the same way that you care about yourself, care about like your well-being, you want to make profit, you want to be a wealthy individual, which is fine. I mean, no one can blame you for that. But meanwhile, you need to be considerate enough for the well-being and the best interests of the society at large. Do not make money from nonsense. Nowadays, a lot of people actually are heavily involved in the stock market. They trade in certain financial instruments between CDS and CDO and what do you call it, futures and derivatives and bonds. The vast majority of those so-called financial instruments are not allowed in Islam because they do not represent any value. They are not backed up by any commodity or any merchandise or even a service, right? Just a piece of paper that is connected to a certain index or a group of companies. You keep paying a premium on that, to keep that piece of paper valid, and it is connected with that index. If they make money, you lose. If they lose money, you make a profit. This is not the right way of you practicing Muslim to make money. So in the same way that you care about yourself, you should be caring about the society at large. You should get involved in a business that makes sense, that provides something tangible to the society, something beneficial, something that people can make use of. It goes, of course, without saying that ban of riba or interest is the most important characteristic in the Islamic finance system. You cannot get involved in riba or usury or interest. By the way, there is no difference. Some people do differentiate between usury and interest. There is no difference. Absolutely, there is no difference. In the Islamic finance system, You cannot get involved in riba. You cannot borrow money with interest. You cannot lend money with interest. You cannot facilitate or help other people actually getting involved in any interest-bearing transaction, period. Every single individual involved in that process is cursed by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and by his Prophet alayhi salatu wasalam. لعن رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم آكل الربا ومؤكله وكاتبه وشاهديه. The one who eats it, the one who pay it, the one who writes down, and even the two witnesses who have nothing to do with riba, as long as they just sit down, to facilitate the transaction, they are cursed or included in the curse of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and his Prophet alayhi salatu wasalam. It's good to know, people living in this society here, that the prohibition of interest is not something new that Islam actually came up with. Riba was prohibited in Judaism. Riba was prohibited in Christianity. Riba is prohibited in Islam. Riba will continue being prohibited all the way until the Day of Judgment. Even without referring to what's so-called the Torah, even if you go to the Quran itself, you will read clearly that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala was criticizing a certain Jewish community in the past. And he said, Azza wa Jal, فَبِظُلْمٍ مِّنَ الَّذِينَ هَادُوا, because of the oppression of the Jews, فَبِظُلْمٍ مِّنَ الَّذِينَ هَادُوا حَرَّمْنَا عَلَيْهِمْ طَيِّبَاتٍ أُحِلَّتْ لَهُمْ وَبِصَدِّهِمْ عَنْ سَبِيلِ اللَّهِ كَثِيرًا, until he said, وَأَخْذِهِمُ الرِّبَا وَقَدْ نُهُوا عَنْهُ. And they used to transact and deal with interest while they were prohibited from doing so. This is not a Torah, this is the Quran that we read day and night. وَأَخْذِهِمُ الرِّبَا وَقَدْ نُهُوا عَنْهُ. Yes, we do have a big question mark when it comes to the authenticity of the so-called Bible that people refer to as Bible, because they have different editions and different languages, and right. But forget about the authenticity of the Bible. Just to grab any edition of the Bible and start reading, you will come across several, verses either by Isa alayhi salatu wasalam or by the Hawariyin, the disciples, where they were explicitly prohibiting their followers from dealing with interest. So you can easily see the consistency here and the pattern here. Riba was prohibited in Judaism, Christianity, Islam, and will continue actually being prohibited until the Day of Judgment. With this in mind, if you feel more comfortable calling this system that we are discussing, you want to call it the Jewish finance system, I cannot blame you. This is absolutely a Jewish finance system, and I mean what I say. If you want to call it a Christian finance system, well, it is. You want to call it Islamic finance system, want to call it divine finance system, call it whatever you want. Alhamdulillah, we do actually comply with the commands of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. There is a lot of consistency in the commands of Allah Azza wa Jal. Whatever was prohibited, zina, riba, drinking, killing, okay, so all these different actions, okay, or things were prohibited in the past, and they are still prohibited in Islam, will continue being prohibited until the Day of Judgment. Why I'm calling this presentation Islamic Finance 101? Because Islamic finance actually is a big topic. In fact, in Guidance College, we do offer master's degree in Islamic economics and finance. That is 36 credit hours until you become highly specialized and professional in Islamic finance. So it is close to impossible to cover Islamic finance in 45 minutes presentation in a masjid. That's why I'm calling it 101. It's just the very basic one. This is like the basic entry. Okay. If your wife or your kids ask you a question, what did you benefit from the presentation? At least you have a very clear message that Islamic finance is different from, the riba-based one, based on 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and that's it. Any technical, tiny fiqh details are not to be involved in this presentation. That is Islamic finance, maybe 500 or 600, but not 100 level. Moving on, riba actually has different categories and different names, right? And sometimes you attempt to educate yourself by going to classical fiqh books and you start reading. You come across several examples that are so confusing for you. You come across examples of like trading, apple for orange, or wheat for barley, or rice for sugar, or rice for rice. I mean, all these different examples are absolutely correct. They are correct, but they are so irrelevant to our society. We do not exchange like barley for wheat, or date fruit for different date fruit, right? Muslims in the USA in 2025 do not do so. So the more you read in those classical books, the more you get confused and you start maybe scratching your head. Is this the riba that we are referring to in the USA? My answer actually is no. So forget about those like scary big names that you read in the classical fiqh books. Riba al-fadl, riba al-nasa, riba al-nasi'a, riba al-nuqud, riba al-ta'am, riba I mean, forget about everything. Just focus on one category and one definition of riba. What's good about this definition and this category of riba is that its prohibition is something that's agreed upon. There is no difference between the madhahib, whether you follow the Hanafi madhab or the Maliki one or the Hanbali one or the Shafi'i one. This particular category of riba, okay, its prohibition is agreed upon. Unlike, for example, praying after Asr and before Adhan al-Maghrib. This is a very debatable issue between different people of knowledge. If you are like a strict Hanafi follower, you go with the hadith of the Prophet ﷺ, where he prohibited Muslims from praying after Fajr all the way until the sunrise. And he prohibited Muslims from praying after Asr all the way until the sunset. Is that correct? If you follow the Shafi'i madhab, for example, like myself, okay, I can debate that. I can say, well, قال رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم من دخل المسجد فلا يجلس حتى يصلي ركعتين. Whosoever enters the masjid should not sit down before praying 2 rakat. I can counter that by saying that the Prophet ﷺ once prayed 2 rakat after Salat al-Asr. And the time that he prohibited Muslims from praying, he purposely, deliberately prayed 2 rakat. Salama radiallahu anha was confused. She said, Ya Rasulullah, what's going on? You told us not to pray after Asr and now you are praying. قال هما اللتان بعد الظهر حبسني عنهما وفد عبد القيس. I was making up 2 rakat that I missed after Salat al-Dhuhr. I was busy with the delegation came and they kept Rasulullah busy from Dhuhr all the way until Asr. Question here. Why did not he pray those 2 rakat after Maghrib? Why not after Isha? Why he purposely prayed 2 rakat after Asr? To set a rule for us that if there is a reason behind praying after Asr, you can. If there is no reason, you cannot pray. I do not blame those who think that you cannot pray, but likewise, you should not blame the one who believes otherwise, especially if that individual knows what he is doing and does have his own madhab and knows the evidences of the madhab. Back to our discussion here. Whether you follow the Hanbali or the Shafi'i or the Hanafi or whatever madhab, this level of riba, this category of riba is agreed upon its prohibition. This is actually the most severe riba. This is actually the interest-bearing loan. Sometimes they call it riba al-jahiliyyah or riba al-diyun, but again, the definition of this riba goes as you see here, the premium that must be paid by the borrower to the lender along with the principal amount, either as a condition for the loan or for an extension in its maturity. And I want you just to make it easy for simplicity purposes, forget about or for the extension in its maturity. Just focus on the first part, as a condition for the loan. So riba is the premium that must be paid by the borrower to the lender along with the principal amount as a condition for the loan. As a condition for the loan. You go to Bank of America, you apply for business loan, construction loan, investment loan, personal loan, whatever. Okay? You are approved for $100,000. And the loan officer will tell you, listen, based on your income and your credit scores, you are approved for 5% APR. What does that mean? It means that if you want to use that money, to keep that money for 1 complete year, then the total that you have to pay to the bank is 105. And if you want to keep that money for 10 years, then you have to pay them back 150, and so on and so forth, right? So it is fixed APR, annual percentage rate. And this is actually a conditional APR. If you say, oh, you know what? I'm a practicing Muslim, I do not pay interest. The loan officer would start laughing at you. He might tell you, you know what? Go to your mosque and ask them to give you money for free. We are making business here. We're not a charity organization. So without you pre-committing yourself by the law of the land to pay that interest, you cannot move on with that loan. This is what I mean by as a condition for the loan. We have two different categories of money here. We have the premium and we have the interest. The premium, okay, is 5%, which is, let's say, 5,000 if you are talking about $100,000 per year, and the principal is 100,000. And we have two different parties. We have the borrower and we have the lender. This actually makes very, very clear, very sharp from day one that the bank who is giving you the money is not creating any partnership with you. There is no partnership. There is no limited partnership. There is no permanent partnership. The bank is not willing to take the risk and the liability that you are facing whenever you take that money. Once you take the money and you move on, you make a profit, you break even, you incur loss, you go bankrupt, you pass out, you pass away, you skip, do whatever you want. The bank does not care about you. 100,000 is to be paid back how much? 105 within 1 year, right? By the law of the land, they can go to the court and just go after you in the court to ask for the principal and ask for the premium on top of it. So from now on, whenever I say interest or riba or usury, I mean the premium, which is 5% in our example, that must be paid by the borrower, which is you, the victim, or the borrower who goes to the bank, to the lender, which is Bank of America in our example, okay, with the principal amount as a condition for the loan, as a condition. In a very simple words, it is an interest-bearing loan. Interest-bearing loan, where the principal is guaranteed and the premium or the surplus on top of the principal is guaranteed. Okay? The bank does not take any risk. You are fully responsible for both, for the principal and for the premium on top of it. And as I said, okay, in this mode of finance, it's very obvious and very clear that the bank is not creating or getting involved in any partnership. There is no risk actually taken by the lender. And you see the financial exploitation here. Okay? A strong party as opposed to a weak party. You are not in a position like to negotiate a deal with the bank. This is what they have for you. Okay? You don't have money and they have hundreds of millions of billions of trillions of money. This is what we have. You take it or you leave it. So there is a lot of dhulm, there is a lot of financial exploitation when you go with this mode of finance, where the bank or the lender, okay, is not taking any risk or any liability out of giving that money. Bank is just sitting, relaxing like me, like this, waiting for you to come within 1 year to pay everything, regardless of the outcome result of the loan that you take. Very technical term, we call this mode of finance risk-shifting finance. Risk-shifting, like the bank is shifting the risk and putting the risk on your shoulder. You are fully responsible for everything, and the bank actually is not taking any responsibility whatsoever. I want you to remember this term because in the Islamic finance system, we do not go with the risk shifting, we go with the risk sharing. Risk shifting as opposed to risk sharing. Remember, so far we are discussing the risk shifting finance, which is the non-Islamic, the man-made one. Challenge that we face in this society here is not whether riba is haram or halal. Everybody actually knows that riba is haram, right? It's not even the definition of riba. Now, alhamdulillah, we know that the riba that we are referring to is this one, which is interest-bearing loan, the premium that must be paid by the borrower to the lender along with the principal amount as a condition for the loan. The challenge that we face here is the discrepancy between what we read in the classical books and what we face in the real life Muslims living in the society here, right? In the classical books, in المبسوط للسرخسي or المغني لابن قدام or عمدة السالك لابن النقيب المصري or whatever the reference might be, you come across several examples. As I said, riba al-fadl, riba al-nasa, riba al-nasi'a, riba al-duyun, riba and you get confused. Barley for wheat, apple for juice, apple for مش عارف orange and so on and so forth, right? And you start actually getting confused because what you come across in the real life is the following here. You see, you come across something called penalty. Those are like just few examples of certain charges that you either charge other people or you get charged by others. So if you sign like any construction agreement with the home builder, there's something called penalty clause. If the contractor did not submit, the key of the house on time, you charge him penalty. Is that penalty riba or not? Right? This is actually what we need to know. Overdraft charge. When your debit card does not have sufficient fund and you overuse it, right? You pay overdraft charge, $35, $40, $50, whatever. Is that riba or not? Late fees. Each and every single utility bill that you receive does have a due date. Is that correct? What will happen if you did not pay it in full before the due date? You have to pay what is called late fees. Is the late fees riba or not? Again, dividend, like if you have any business to do in the stock market, profit, commission. If you do a certain job, you get a commission. Interest, cash back, like when you use your credit card, you get some cash back. Fine, okay, gharama maliyya, something that you have to pay if you commit a certain violation. Compensation, you pay others. Honorarium, you do a job and you get, honorarium by the host or by whatever. Service fees, equity, shares, and the list actually goes on and on. So those are actually the actual real charges, right, that we face in this society, sometimes on a daily basis. And here's actually where the confusion is coming from. Is this the riba that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala prohibited or not? Now, if you combine this with the definition of riba, you can easily tell that discovering the interest-bearing transactions is not something hard. It's very simple. If each and every single transaction, you need to unlock its secret by asking a very simple question. Is it proven that someone in that contract, in that enterprise, in that partnership, in that someone is offering money to others, right? And the principal is guaranteed, and the premium on top of the principal is guaranteed as well. If that is proven, then this is actually the riba that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala prohibited. Regardless actually of the name that you give to that contract, even if it is called musharaka or partnership or murabaha, honestly, we don't care about names. What we care about is the essence and the reality of the transaction. And that's it. It's not a rocket science, okay? Very simple. Someone is offering money, some way, somehow, where the principal is guaranteed and the return on top of the principal is guaranteed by the recipient of the money. If that is proven, then that transaction actually is an interest-bearing one, even if it is called otherwise. This actually brings, okay, in order for you to answer this question, you need to unlock the secret of those contemporary transactions. Okay? You need to discover, to find out, like, scrutinize, okay, and just break it down to make sure that you understand the mechanism and the nature of that transaction, okay? And again, if it is proven that someone is giving money without taking any risk, and the recipient of the money is the one who is guaranteeing everything, then that's the riba that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala prohibited. Done deal, that's it. This should bring to our attention a fiqh maxim here that has to be in mind all the time. That we do not care about the terms or the names that people might give to certain transactions, okay? Let me just take a quick exit. Some of those so-called Islamic mortgage companies in the USA, they try to impress the community whenever they do a presentation. Oh, we go with murabaha, we go with musharaka, we go with ijara, milkul ayni wal raqaba. They come up with those like scary terms. So with the hope that they would impress the community, everybody say, wow, they know what are they doing. Well, with all due respect, they do not know what are they talking about. If you just grab their contract and read in details, you will easily conclude that they give you money without taking any risk whatsoever, and you, the victim of those companies, is the one who is responsible for the principal and for the premium on top of it. What is the difference between what they do and what other, conventional banks do? I'm not saying all of them are bad. I'm saying that the majority of them cannot apply. And I'll just make myself clear. They are not in the same level. Some of them are good, some of them are not. Okay. What I want to say is that the majority of those companies do not have the ability of implementing Islamic finance because they operate within a non-Islamic system. As long as they deal with the secondary market as long as they securitize the contracts and sell them next day in the morning to Freddie Mac and Fannie Mae, they cannot actually apply Islamic finance because the whole system is corrupt. The whole system is a riba one. You cannot actually have a sound and authentic Islamic finance practice if the whole system actually is a non-Islamic one. So the qaida actually goes, the fiqh maxim, العبرة في العقود للمقاصد والمعاني لا للألفاظ والمباني. What matters in transactions is the essence and reality, not the wording or the formality. We don't care about the names. You know what? Even if you go to Bank of America, just for discussion purposes, and the bank actually agreed, Bank of America or Chase or Wells Fargo, they agreed to purchase the property jointly with you and to take care of their portion of the maintenance and the tax and the insurance. And they are willing to sell you their shares gradually. Well, believe it or not, dealing with Bank of America is halal, even if they are non-Muslims. We don't care, as long as the essence and the reality itself of the deal is the halal one. Likewise, if the company claims to be an Islamic finance company, but their practice actually is not Islamic, then that contract actually is not a Sharia compliant one, even though it is claimed to be a murabaha or musharaka or ijar. We don't care about the names, we care about the essence. You need to show me in the contract, okay, not on your website, not on your marketing. I don't care about all these marketing materials. What I care about is the legally binding contract that you sign with your customers. You need to show me that you own the property before you sell it back with a markup. You need to show me that you own it before you start doing the declining partnership. You need to show me that you own the property if you want to do lease to own, for example, and so on and so forth. And that's something actually in most cases does not exist, unfortunately, because all these companies, or the majority of them, depend on funding their business on the secondary market. So they have to say yes, sir, to Freddie Mac and Fannie Mae and just abide by their rules and their restrictions. Let's take some quick examples here, okay, on how to unlock the secret of those contemporary transactions. And let me start with a very simple example, which is the saving account. Saving account. Do we think that opening a saving account for a certain return, okay, in any conventional bank is a halal option or not? Before you say yes or say no, our job here actually is to unlock the secret of those transactions. In order for us to understand it, I'll give you this example. I do have $10,000 cash. And I told Abu Mateen, the same example that I made yesterday. If I'm to tell him, Abu Mateen, here is 10,000 and you need to pay me back $11,000 by the end of 2025, right? You take the money, do whatever you want, you pay me back how much? 11,000. That's a straightforward interest-bearing loan. Is that correct? Before I gave him the money, I changed my mind. I went to Bank of America, okay, or Chase or Wells Fargo, whatever, and I opened a saving account. Now, by the agreement that I signed with the Bank of America, they have to pay me back $11,000 by the end of 2025. And by the FDIC, by the Federal Deposit Insurance Corporation, I can go after them and ask for the 1,000 on top of the 10,000. So they guarantee for me the 10,000. They guarantee for me the 1,000 extra on top of it. What is the difference between scenario 1 and scenario 2? 10,000 to be paid back, guaranteed 11,000. 10,000 to be paid back, 11,000 guaranteed. There is no difference. Well, believe it or not, opening a saving account means that you are lending your money to the bank. It has no other interpretation. Do not waste your time. When you open a saving account, you are lending your money to the bank. Now, the bank actually does not interpret it this way. They do not perceive it this way. We do not care about, respectfully, we do not care about their perception. What we care about is our interpretation, right? Someone would say, oh, hold on. Bank of America is borrowing from you. Bank of America, the one who has hundreds of billions of trillions of millions of dollars, borrowing money from you, the one who has only 10,000? My answer actually is yes. We don't care about who has more and who has less. What we care about is the essence and the reality of the deal. Okay? As long as my principal is guaranteed and the premium on top of it is guaranteed, I'm not taking any risk whatsoever. Okay? This is the risk shifting mode of finance. So I am lending my money to Bank of America, period. So opening a saving account actually is not a halal option. Another very quick and obvious example, which is the home mortgage. Okay, why we believe that like classical home mortgage is not a halal option? Let's break it down. When I mortgage a house, it means that I am getting involved in purchasing a house from the landlord. Okay, landlord. He is offering me the house for $1 million straight. So that's a sale agreement, and I sign an agreement with him that I'm gonna purchase the house. Of course, I do not have $1 million cash, and that's why I go to, again, Bank of America or Bank of America, okay, applying for a loan, or like maybe Countrywide, whatever the mortgage company might be. And upon the approval of my application, they would pay the $1 million on my behalf to the landlord. Is that correct? And in return, I have to pay it $1.2 million within the next 30 years. I'm just giving random examples, so do not quote me on that. Now, in order for the bank to secure its fund, Sheikh Jazakallah khair, I wish you have like turned it off a while ago. Should I start all over now? It was too noisy. Barakallah feek. In order for the bank to secure their money, they just mortgage the property. They put a lien on the property. So in case of me like defaulting, passing away, skipping the country, going to Mexico, whatever, they just go after the property, okay? They foreclose the property and they get their money. So we ended up having sale agreement and a loan agreement and a mortgage agreement, right? Sale agreement is halal. Mortgage agreement is halal in a sense that if someone is giving money to others, there is nothing wrong if it is a loan, right? There is nothing wrong if you ask for a secured loan or collateralized loan. وَإِن كُنتُمْ عَلَى سَفَرٍ وَلَمْ تَجِدُوا كَاتِبًا فَرِهَانٌ مَقْبُوضَةٌ. This is Quran. Al-rihan in this ayah actually means mortgage. Okay? If someone wants to borrow money from me and I do not know him well, there's nothing wrong if I'm telling him, "Akhi, give me your phone as a collateral. Here is $2,000, here is $200 for a few days. Whenever you decide to come back, okay, I'll give you your phone back." Right? That's called collateral. Collateral, right? So this is a collateralized loan. There's nothing wrong with that. And this is actually the rahn that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala indicated in the Quran. So we do not have any issue with the rahn agreement, with the mortgage agreement. We do not have any issue with the sale agreement. But we do have actually a big question mark, okay, and big concern when it comes to the loan. Because the bank is paying $1 million on your behalf and ask you to pay it back $1.2 million. And the bank is not owning the property. If you think that the Bank of America is the landlord, respectfully, you are mistaken. Bank actually is the lien holder and not the owner of the house. There are two major documents that you sign. One of them is the title that reflects the legal ownership, and the bank does not care about who owns the house. And the other document is the deed of trust. Deed of trust actually has three different entities. Okay, obliger, which is the borrower, which is you, the victim, the customer, and the financier, which is the lender, Bank of America in our example, and the third party, which is the title company that holds the title on behalf of the two parties until you pay off the principal and the interest on top of it. So two segments are halal, and one segment actually is haram. The Islamic finance system, as long as one segment in any deal is explicitly prohibited, that's way more than enough to make the whole deal non-allowed. The conclusion here: classical, conventional mortgage process in the USA is not a halal option. Now, what's the alternative? How about those so-called Islamic mortgage companies? This is not Islamic Finance 101. This is something else. Join Guidance College for Masters, and inshallah we'll be more than happy to discuss details. But here, okay, let's just establish a rule here, or a fact, that conventional mortgage process in the USA, as it is done as of today, is not a halal option. Let's take some other examples. Owner finance with interest, well, that's confusing. Let's go with the cashback. Cashback. Abu Mateen, do you still remember the example that I gave yesterday? So I was asking Abu Mateen the same question. I'm just picking you today, so bear with me. I asked him a question. We were together in a different masjid. If I'm to give you $100 and ask you to pay me back 110, what do you call it? He said, this is an interest-bearing loan. Is that correct? If I'm to give you $100 and ask you to pay me $100, what do you call it? That's qardun hasan, interest-free loan. We just break even. If I'm to give you $100 and ask you to pay me back $90, that is the opposite of riba. Because the one who is benefiting here is not me, the lender, but the borrower actually is the one who is benefiting. And in the Islamic finance system, okay, there is a well-known قاعدة, subhanAllah, I forgot to add it to the presentation. كل قرض جر نفعا مشروطا للمقرض فهو ربا. Each and every loan that brings a stipulated benefit to the lender will be counted as riba. So as long as the lender, which is me in this example, as long as the lender is benefiting from the loan, that's haram. But if the borrower is the one who is benefiting, then that's not haram. Right? Now, having said that, cashback means that you hold a credit card, not a debit card. When you use your debit card, you use your own money. You are not borrowing money from others. Am I correct? But when you hold a credit card, you are borrowing money from the credit company, either for cash withdrawal. You stop by any ATM machine to withdraw some cash, which is not allowed, by the way, because you have to pay interest, right? Or you use your credit card for purchasing items, or for paying bills. There's no other use. Is that correct? Now, once you use your credit card, you are borrowing money from the credit company. So all the rules and the restrictions of the loan agreement in Islam are to be applied here, because this is actually a loan agreement, right? Now, once the company actually is telling you, the credit card company is telling you, listen, if you use my credit card for $100, I will be paying you cash back $10. So you go ahead and you swipe the card and use it for $100. You pay it back in full before the due date, like what they call it, the monthly statement. You pay $100 and they pay you back $10. So how much is the net amount that you are paying the lender? $90. Are you catching up with me here? So you borrowed 100 and the net amount that you paid back after receiving the cash back is only $90. So you, the borrower, is the one who is benefiting from the one, and that's why cash back is halal. It's not haram, because the one who is benefiting is the borrower and not the lender. Yet, if you do have some cash back and you do not feel comfortable using it, just give it to me or just donate it to Guidance College. I'll be more than happy to take it. طيب, moving on. I have a lot of examples and a lot of things to say, but I'm going to just skip because of the time. The Islamic finance system, okay, what we believe in is that if the risk sharing is not reflected in that deal, then it's not an Islamic finance one. We said several times that the regular finance system goes with the risk shifting finance, risk shifting. The Islamic one goes with the risk sharing one. What does it mean? It means simply that loan is not a mode of finance in the Islamic finance system, believe it or not. The only mode of finance in the conventional system is loan. You just borrow money for interest. In the Islamic finance system, you cannot lend money for interest. You either give a loan as qardun hasan, as qard, like interest-free loan, and you give it as a charity. You give it as a devotion to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Someone is financially struggling. He or she needs few hundreds of dollars to pay the bills or to pay the rent of the house or whatever. You devote yourself to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala by giving him $1,000 or $2,000 for a few weeks, few months, and you bear even the inflation. You take care of the inflation as a part of the devotion, because you anticipate none but the word from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But you are not giving him that money for business purposes. You give him just to alleviate the financial hardship that he's going through. In fact, the Prophet ﷺ have told us that if you lend your money twice, qardul hasan, you will be counted as if you have donated that money. So I give, I have 1,000 designated, but like putting it aside to help people. If I'm to give it as qardun hasan, loan, interest-free loan, for the first time I receive it, collect it, and then give it to somebody else and take it back, it will be counted for me as if I have donated that one. To make it clear that loan is an act of charity. Loan is an act of devotion. You anticipate none but the reward from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Now in this case, whenever you give a loan, you definitely actually do have the right to ask for the principal to be guaranteed. I mean, the minimum you can do is to guarantee my principal. I'm doing you a favor, with all due respect, right? I'm taking even the pain of the inflation. I'm giving you $1,000 now. Whenever you pay me next year, its purchase power will go down to 900, and I'm willing to take it. Because I'm a practicing Muslim, I just look for some hasanat and reward from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But do not tell me, give me $10,000 or $20,000 as qardun hasan for business purposes. I'm not going to give you the money. Why should I give you $20,000 to establish a small business, okay, and you hold my money for 2 or 3 years, and you make a lot of profit from my money, and then you come back after 2 or 3 years, if you decide to pay me, back to start with, while the purchase power of the money went significantly down, and you give me a big hug, oh Sheikh, thank you, Jazakallah khair, here's your money back. Seriously? I mean, should I give you my money to benefit from it and to make money, and then you give me the principal with a big hug? Okay, your big hug actually, I mean, is very kind of you, but it doesn't make any sense here. If you want my money to make business, let's sit down and just talk business. I can give you the money as a mudaraba, right? As a trustee partnership. I know you very well. I know that you are good in car dealership or accessories, whatever business. Here is 20,000 as mudaraba. You invest that money on my behalf. And based on the deal that we signed together, I should be entitled for, let's say, 5 or 10% of the net profit of your business, not 5% of my principal. Be careful. You cannot connect your profit or your return on investment as a percentage of your principal. You cannot do that, because actually this will make it a fixed amount of money. You see, if I'm to give you 10,000, ask for 10%, it means that I'm asking for $1,000, right? What if your business that year did not make more than 1,000? I'll be taking the money and you will stay actually with no money. That makes no sense. So in the mudaraba, I give you the money, the trustee partnership, and you just keep that money, you invest it on my behalf. If there is a profit after recovering the principal and paying all the overhead expenses and maintenance tax and insurance and whatever is stay there, like left behind on top of everything, that's the net profit. I should be entitled for whatever we both agree upon, right? If there is no profit for whatever reason, I cannot go after you and ask for profit. Just give me my principal and I will go home. Ma'asalam, that's it. No profit. Well, worst case scenario, something happened, right? Act of God, economic recession, like what happened back in March 2020, COVID-19. You are unable to make a profit, unable to even survive. You just lost even the principal. Well, believe it or not, I cannot go after you and ask for the principal. I cannot. As long as there is no negligence or mismanagement proved from your end, I cannot go after you and ask for the principal. This is actually the risk sharing that you are talking about. You see? Each and every single mode of finance here does have to incur a certain amount of liability and risk. Okay? That risk and liability is the main reason behind legitimizing and allowing the money financier or the money giver to justify the profit that he is looking for. We are not making up those rules. This is the exact hadith of the Prophet ﷺ when he said, Al-kharaju bid-daman. Profit follows liability. Al-kharaju bid-daman. Profit follows liability. You want to make a profit? We would love to see you flourishing with your business and making money. However, you need to do it the right way. Do not give your money as a loan. Give your money as an investment. Take the risk and the liability of advancing money and wait. As we say back home, التجارة ربح وخسارة. You might make a profit, you might lose. Allahu Alam, we do not know. Because of the risk that you are taking, you justify the profit that you are looking for. But you cannot give the money with no risk and you ask for profit to be guaranteed. That is unjust and unfair way of making money. Well, I'll skip this example for the sake of time. Why riba is prohibited? Because when riba is implemented in any finance system, it brings actually a lot of financial exploitation, a lot of dhulm, and taking advantage of people. Okay, sometimes you do not make 20 or 30% profit. Okay, your non-Muslim friends or colleagues might ask you like a very simple and very innocent question. You go to Bank of America, you apply for a loan 100,000 for 5%, 7% interest, right? You do business, you make 20, 30% profit. You pay the principal, you pay the interest to the bank back, and you keep the rest for yourself. It's a wonderful model. It's a win-win situation. Everybody's happy. Why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is making it hard by saying, no, you cannot deal with interest? Here is the answer. This scenario does happen a lot, but actually it's not the only scenario that takes place in the real life. Sometimes, as I said yesterday, you do not make 20 or 30%. You do not even make 100%. You make 500%. You still remember the example? My son, my oldest son, Suhaib, is now 32 years old. He has an online business. They call it Vintage. He goes to Salvation Army and what they call it, Goodwill. Thank you, Goodwill and Salvation Army. He buys those donated, almost like useless clothes. Some of them actually have a very, recognized brand, right? So he does buy them bulk, okay, and he does some maintenance and cleaning and post them online. He says, Baba, sometimes I purchase a shirt for $5, okay, total cost $5 between buying and cleaning and posting and marketing, and I sell it for $50. So I pay out of pocket $5 and I get in return $50. If you are to pay $5 for a shirt and you sell it for $10, your profit margin is 100%. And if you sell it for $15, you are making 200%. If you sell it for $20, that's 300%. Do the math. So he doesn't make 500. No, he makes way more than 500% profit. Alhamdulillah, he doesn't borrow money with interest at all. What if he has borrowed that money? Is it just and fair enough to pay to the bank changes 5-7% and to keep the rest of 500% profit to himself? Where is the justice here? Where is the fairness? Where is the adl? Right? This is a very extreme example. How about the other extreme example? Someone borrowed money again for 5 or 7%. Something happened, act of God, COVID-19, you name it. He lost the money. There was no negligence, there was no carelessness, there was no mismanagement. It's just act of God, as they say. Just natural disaster happened, and he lost the money. The bank actually does not care about the outcome result. By the law of the land, they can go after you in the court and ask for the principal and ask for the premium on top of it. And the same question is, where is the justice here? There is no justice. So the answer is that whenever riba is incorporated in any finance system, it does bring a lot of injustice, a lot of unfairness, a lot of financial exploitation. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in the Quran has made it clear that the main reason behind sending all the prophets and all the messengers and all the books, like scriptures and even al-Mizan, which is a symbol of justice. He said in the Quran, لَقَدْ أَرْسَلْنَا رُسُلَنَا بِالْبَيِّنَاتِ. We have sent our prophets with clear messages. وَأَنزَلْنَا مَعَهُمُ الْكِتَابَ وَالْمِيزَانِ. And we supported them with al-Kitab, scripture, and al-Mizan, the scale. Okay? Why? قَالَ لِيَقُومَ النَّاسُ بِالْقِسْطِ. So people would stand for justice, people would implement justice. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wants justice to be implemented. Justice in Aqidah, you acknowledge Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala as your Lord. Justice in Ibadah, you worship the one who deserves to be worshipped. Justice in social interaction, you treat everybody with love and with respect and with appreciation. You do not discriminate, you do not look down, you do not act in a very arrogant way. And justice in business transactions by not taking advantage of those who are in need for your money. So when you incorporate riba, okay, you bring a lot of injustice. You stand against Allah's will. Allah Azza wa Jal wants justice and you want injustice. And that's why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has made it clearly prohibited. You cannot stand against Allah as well, because you bring a lot of financial exploitation, to the society. Of course, we Muslims actually have long way to go here, and that's why, this is where Guidance College actually is coming from. We have masters in Islamic economics and finance, because in my very humble experience in this field for the last 25 plus years in the USA, and maybe another 10 years overseas before coming here, is that Muslims are way behind. We do not have sufficient amount of Islamic finance professionals who understand the fiqh al-Islami and fiqh of transactions from one side, and the mechanism and the nature and the essence and the way that finance actually is run in the society here, to be up to the challenge and to diversify the options and to penetrate the system by coming up with Sharia compliant options for Muslims who want to live their life peacefully in the USA while being financially functional and professional and do a good business. So we have long way to go to educate ourselves more about cryptocurrency and student loans and retirement accounts and investing in the stock market, insurance, home mortgage and banking and so on and so forth. Here is the link for the Masters in Islamic Economics and Finance. Alhamdulillah, this is a very unique program. You cannot find the same content and the same curriculum somewhere else. Not because I'm biased, because I'm the president of Guidance, but this is for fact. You just do your own due diligence, okay? Look around for different Masters in Islamic Economics and Finance in the USA. You cannot find something with this level of depth and sophistication and understanding, the mechanism of the finance system in the USA and the Islamic one, like what you find in Guidance College. Alhamdulillah, Guidance College is now fully accredited by ASIC, which is one of the most prestigious accreditation bodies in the United Kingdom. We are working diligently to get our accreditation in the USA with the Middle State Commission of Higher Education, which is a New York-based one. So inshallah, within no time, you will hear the good news that Guidance College became the very first online Islamic college fully accredited in the USA, inshallah. It's purely online, evening and weekend college. So Monday through Friday from 8 to 5, no classes. We do this actually purposely. We want our students to go to different colleges and to go to their jobs and careers. In the evening, from the convenience of their homes, they can just log in and take classes. I know that this is not the most effective way, but this is actually the possible and the doable and the reasonable way of disseminating authentic and relevant Islamic knowledge in the USA. USA is not a country. USA is a continent. You cannot bring students from New York and Michigan and Houston, Texas together in the same class, teach them. So the only way actually is to have them virtually online. Very affordable tuition fees. Alhamdulillah, we do have in-house scholarship and financial aid, especially for the new reverts to Islam. And let me just remind you that yesterday, actually, I was the one who gave the khutbah, if you were not here, and I reminded the community with the importance of supporting the noble cause of Guidance College. I know that the masjid does not allow like official or auction, fundraising, which is fine. This is actually a reminder that please make sure that you become a part of the success of this project. Your donation to Guidance College is tax deductible. We are definitely 501c non-for-profit organization, and it is zakah eligible as well. Alhamdulillah, we did not in the past, we do not in the present, and we will not in the future deny the application of any student, especially the reverts, the new converts to Islam, because they cannot afford paying the very nominal tuition fees. We take them for free with all the love and the respect and the appreciation and the support that you could ever imagine. We teach them for 4 consecutive years for free, and we send them back to the society to pay the community back by teaching and reaching out and taking their responsibility. So please help us, support us, sponsoring more students of knowledge. If Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala makes it easy for you to prepay your zakatul mal instead of waiting in the month until the month of Ramadan, make it from now. Prepay your zakatul mal under the category of al-fuqara wal-masakin. You can pay zakatul mal. Under the category of al-mu'allafati qulubuhum, new reverse to Islam, you can pay zakatul mal. We have a bank account designated for the tuition fees. So whatever you pay tonight, will be inshallah counted as inshallah sadaqatun jariyah, as a zakah, and you will be actually not sharing but matching the reward of those individuals according to the hadith of the Prophet ﷺ, because you are the one who stood actually financially behind that individual and supported him, to hold the degree and to go back and reach out to the community and support the community. So please be as generous as supportive as possible. We do have credit card machines, we do have a donation box, we do have a pledge form. You can just scan the QR here and go to online and just make your donation. Short-term solutions, syndication and crowdfunding actually is a good solution. I've been serving the community for the last 4 or 5 years, okay, not as a professor and academic, but as a consultant. Okay, I reached to a conclusion that it's time. Education is good. Reaching out to the community and doing seminars and webinars and giving degrees in Islamic finance is excellent. But the most important thing actually is to have hands-on work with the community to collect their sources, financial resources, and to establish their independent, fully Sharia compliant projects, right? This is actually what I've been doing for the last few years. So syndication actually is to reach out to the community and to bring big amounts of money. Crowdfunding is to deal with small investors, and I will show you some examples. Of course, we do have Islamic alternative. We do have some Islamic mortgage companies, and they are not in the same level of Sharia compliance. Some of them are excellent, some of them are half, some of them actually are otherwise. So they are laysu sawa'a. Long-term solution actually is to, as I always say, is to penetrate the system and to work with the lobbyists, work with the policymakers to make sure that Islamic finance is well implemented, genuinely, soundly implemented, not the way that it is done nowadays. No, companies and banks should be allowed to conduct a murabaha by purchasing the property before selling it back for a markup. They have to have the right of purchasing a property and own it for 20, 30 years until they finish the declining partnership. This is actually to make sure that the Islamic finance actually is implemented perfectly fine. New attempts here that I'm a part of, I'm either a co-founder or otherwise a Sharia consultant of those companies. One of them is Edifice X. This is it's not a mortgage company. It's a platform. You can think of it like Amazon. So just a platform for home buyers and home sellers and investors. It's a blockchain tokenization based platform. We established our own blockchain, and we paid thousands of dollars for the last 2 years until we built from scratch what is called the stable blockchain. It's not a volatile one, so to make sure that no one would be allowed to inflate the price of the properties. The concept actually is simple. You want to purchase a house, you go to Edifice X, that artificial intelligence, you pick and choose the house that you want. You pay 5% down payment. We as a platform, we tokenize 95% of the property, and we open it for investment. That's called the crowdfunding, see? Investors can purchase tokens, and from day one they will start making money from the lease revenue, because you as a home buyer, you have to rent the rest of the house. You own only 5%, and 95% is owned by the group of investors, who came to this partnership with you through Edifice X. So you pay rent, and as you go, if you decide to redeem their tokens by increasing your equity, you can do so. If you want to stay as is, it's up to you. You see, it's a very fair and very 100% Sharia compliance system. I'm the one, alhamdulillah, who put together what is called the smart contract that governs and structured the relationship between, and each and every single token, before you sell it or you trade it, you have to pay it's a due diligence. Like there is a maintenance and tax and insurance. It is deducted automatically from your token before you sell it. And whenever the home buyer wants to purchase those tokens, you cannot stop him, because the main reason behind this platform is to facilitate owning homes for those who want to purchase their property. It's not fully functional, but it's coming soon. And inshallah, it will be functional and one of the good options for the Muslim community. Fi wallet to invest in gold. This is Sharia compliant, and you will find me as a Sharia consultant. Zaki Financial investment in the stock market, Atina is the same. Here is Guidance College. Here's our website, guidancecollege.org, and here is my email address, Dr. Mohammed Guidance College. I do Sharia compliance consultation. You can reach out to me through this website. So my presentation, I'm sorry, I just skipped some like a lot of information because of the time constraint. So the floor is yours. And one more time, please remember Guidance College and your financial support and your zakah donation. Barakallah fikum. The floor is yours. We have 20 minutes. Inshallah, we'll be finishing by 10:15. Yes, sir. Can you perform Hajj if you are involved in regular mortgage? Is this your question? Yes, you can. You can donate money. You can go for Hajj as long as you are maintaining your monthly payment with the mortgage company. You don't need to take their permission. You can do whatever you want. So as long as you are like keeping up with your monthly payment, even if that's a haram mortgage, it has nothing to do with Hajj. You can donate money. You can pay zakat al-mal. You can go for Hajj freely. No. Yes, sir.
Assalamu alaikum. Yeah, you didn't. I was waiting to speak about retirement funds. Retirement funds, like a lot of organizations, you find yourself working for them. They ask you to contribute money for retirement.
When it comes to retirement account, yeah,
the money that you contribute is put in like a portfolio. You have a portfolio where they invest the money into different kind of funds for you, and some of them may not be. You don't even know what they put in the money. Maybe illegal, maybe in different kind of industry. Which
usually in corporate America, the financial advisor of the company or the wealth manager would sit with you and give you maybe 4 or 5 different options. Now your job is to pick and choose the most Sharia compliant one. If you do not know, right, you just download the one that you think is the most Sharia compliant one and run it by a company called Zaki Financial. Go to Zaki Financial, send them an email, okay, with the portfolio and ask them a question. How Sharia compliant is this option, right? If you ended up having like the most Sharia compliant one is the one who has, let's say, 80% halal, 20% haram, between bonds and derivatives and whatever. Yeah. Keep it as is, and you need to dispose 20% from the dividend that you receive, not the total 20% of the dividend, because that 20% is coming from the 20% haram. And you pay zakah on the rest of them, and that will be it. So you need to strive to keep your 401k or your retirement account as Sharia compliant as possible, providing that having a Sharia compliant like 100% is impossible. There's nothing called 100% Sharia compliant. Your job is just to keep striving to maintain Sharia compliance as much as you can. Yeah.
What about the interest that the fund generates?
Yeah, one question per person.
Okay. The interest that the fund generates.
You dispose it, you put it in the masjid, you donate it, you give it to needy individuals. Even if you decide to put it in the masjid, that would be fine. But do not use it for yourself.
Okay. Thank you.
Assalamu alaikum, sir. I think we've been taught that they say actions are rewarded according to their intentions, right? Some of us we decide to put money, like for instance you mentioned savings account. The intention that we take the money, we put it there, it's not really for the interest, right? sometimes you got money, you just want to save it because you don't want to use it. That's the intention. And the interest, most of this bank, the interest they give is not even, maybe you put 10,000 there, it's not even $100 a year, you get it. So your intention is just that. So I just want you to clarify.
Your intention is to what?
Is to save the money. It's not for the interest. It's just I want to save this money. That's the intention. And if we've been taught that the actions are rewarded according to your intention, I'm thinking if I put money just for me to be able to save it, not because of the interest, because maybe I don't have a safe place to put it. I can keep
Please,
cash.
excuse my example. Can I ask you a question?
Yes.
No offense, just like a question. Can I steal money with the intention of donating that money? I see like some wealthy individuals who do not pay zakah, and they lead a very very, what do you call it, extravagant lifestyle.
Yeah.
So my intention is to steal money from them, to distribute them, to redistribute the money by giving that money to the needy individual, to the deprived and desperate individuals in the society. Would that justify stealing money from them?
No, because the intention is wrong.
No, my intention actually is good.
Yes, because you say stealing.
Okay.
You're stealing,
My intention is good. I don't want to use the money. I want to steal that money, to donate it, to give it to the needy individuals.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah.
Can I do that?
So where it starts, the intention starts from stealing to donate. But this.
So my answer here is that regardless of your intention, right, you have to make sure that the means that you are following is a halal and the goal is a halal one. Even if I have an intention to open a saving account with the plan that whatever interest generated, I will be giving it to the needy individuals. That's a very noble cause, right? Very noble intention, but it's not justified because the means that you are taking or implementing is not a halal one. So you have to make sure that your practice is halal, your intention is halal, your goal is halal. Now, when it comes to opening a saving account, right? My intention is to save the money. Well, I can argue that. Is this the only way of saving the money? I have $100,000 cash money, and it's not safe to keep that money at home. Well, my advice here, if the only reason behind opening a saving account is to save the money, you can open another checking account and keep it low profile, keep it confidential. Do not use that checking account, for purchasing items. Do not write checks. Do not release its information. The possibility of identity theft and like frauding the account will go down to zero. So there is an alternative, which is to open a checking account. Now, if the reason behind it is to set off the inflation now is too high, right? Well, I can counter that by saying, okay, open an account with Fi Wallet. Okay, Fi Wallet actually is just an app. You download it, okay, and you start transferring money, and ask for that money to be converted to gold. They do not give you a gold certificate. No, they purchase actual real gold, right? And for a fact that gold does have its own intrinsic value. So this is a kind of passive investment. The $1,000 that you purchased gold with this year, if you decide to sell the gold after maybe 1 year, you will be receiving maybe $11,000. So this is like another way of saving your money without losing its purchase power. A third option is to open a mutual fund account. We have maybe 10, 15 different Islamic investment companies, including this one, Zaki Financial. They can make, you can make easily 2 digits, like 10%. It depends on the level of risk that you want to take. As you know, you can go conservative, you can go aggressive, you can go moderate. But nowadays you can easily secure 8 to 10% net profit, and it is halal. So those are like alternatives for opening saving account. There is no way for opening a saving account to be a halal, because once you open a saving account, you are creating interest. You know what? Even if you decide, okay, or even if you ask the bank not to give you interest. System itself actually generates interest. So you are supporting the bank actually in making interest and taking that money, using it to be, to be lended to other people for interest. So even you are causing more and more damage when you decide not to take the interest. So that's my answer. No saving account.
Thank you.
Make sense? Alhamdulillah.
Assalamu alaikum. In Islamic economy, how do you define the intrinsic value of money? Like a money, $5,000 value, $5,000 10 years before is not the same as today's $10,000. Like if I borrow money from you 5 years before, and today I'm paying you 10,000, is it the same? Like money has some intrinsic value. According to time, it decreases or increases, whatever it is. So, in Islamic economy, how do you define that things?
Well, first of all, loan is not to be advanced for business purposes. Do not give your money to others for business purposes, right? Second of all, a part of the devotion to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is to anchor the difference or the inflation. You give the money, you give 1,000 and you receive 1,000 only. Now practically speaking, if the inflation is too excessive, there is a fatwa that if the inflation actually goes beyond 1/3, that's way too much, right? In this very particular case, then actually sharing the loss is a reasonable solution, sharing the loss between the borrower and the lender. I'll give you an example. You lended someone 100,000 Pakistani rupiah 10 years ago. And because of the inflation, at that time, its purchase power, okay, was equivalent to $3,000. $3,000. And he did not pay you back. Now, after 10 years, when he decided to pay you, if he used to pay you today, for example, 100,000 Pakistani rupiah, its purchase power is only $2,000. So the inflation is how much? 1/3. Is that correct? In this case, actually, because the inflation is way too excessive, way too much, then we can share the loss between you and the borrower. How much is the difference? $500. So he has to pay you 100,000 rupiah, and whatever is equivalent to $500 today. This is a very exceptional circumstances when the inflation actually goes way beyond imagination. And this actually does happen, by the way, in Syria because of the civil war, in Egypt because of bad economy there, in Lebanon, for example, in Iraq, right? So it does actually happen. So whenever the inflation is too excessive, too extreme, okay, so much so that it exceeds 1/3, 33% or more, then we can apply that exception, because the Prophet ﷺ amara bi raf' al-ja'iha. Prophet ﷺ commanded the excessive loss actually to be removed. But otherwise, no, you just go with the book. You lend 100,000 rupiah, you receive it 100,000 rupiah. Okay, if the inflation is within a reasonable range. I know. Yes, sir. Yeah.
Assalamu alaikum. Which one of the Islamic so-called or currently available mortgage companies would you recommend to buy a house on mortgage?
Whenever Edifice X is functional, this is the best option. Whenever it is functional, it is not. For the time being, there is a solution that most Muslims do not pay attention to. If in the state of New York here, if the government does allow construction companies or home builders to own 100% of the finance department or the affiliate mortgage company, then you can do owner finance with them, right? If and only if you are 100% positive that XYZ home builder does own 100% of the finance department. Because in this case, whatever he does is not more than عقد الاستثناء, manufacturing sale. Okay, he has the ability and the money and the materials to build you a house for $1 million, okay, and he is willing to do so and sell it back to you for $1.2 million. All the paperwork that you have to sign that, oh, you are borrowing money, is just a nominal loan. You are not borrowing money, you are not taking cash money. Okay? They ask you to sign those documents to sell the contract in the secondary market and get their money back, because they do not have the ability of waiting for you for 30 years. So the loan involved here, the interest-bearing loan, is a very unreal and a very nominal one. If that is proven, like back home in Texas, for example, our government actually does not mind at all allowing home builders to own 100% of the finance department. This is the best option. You're going to purchase a brand new house with the lowest quote-unquote interest-bearing rate, and the most important thing is that this is a Sharia-compliant option. Is it the case in New York or not? I don't know. You need to double-check. And do not ask the companies, do your own research, because companies actually are just business people. They're going to give you the answer that you want. Okay, they will just go with the book. I mean, whatever answer makes you happy, they will say, yeah, we own it. Just go for it and sign an agreement with us. So this is actually, this is the best option. If not, then guidance residential actually is a very reasonable option. They do not operate as a mortgage company. They operate as an investment company. They create an LLC. They own the property jointly with the customer. They do have some glitches here or there in their contract. They are working on it now closely with AMJA, to remove the restriction that we are putting on them to, like, you give a fatwa that dealing with them is allowed with no restriction, but it takes time. It takes time. Guidance residential actually is a reasonable option. Is a good option. If not, then there is Universal Islamic Financial, UIF, and Devon Bank. Those are like also other options, but they come after guidance residential. If you are financing with UIF already or with Devon Bank, just stay as is. You don't need to refinance. I mean, just stay as is. There are two other options. One of them is called Ijara loan, which is disapproved by AMJA. It is not Sharia compliant at all. And there is another option called La Riba. La Riba actually is disapproved by AMJA. It is not Sharia compliant, period. It is not. So it's like identical to any mortgage company. There is no difference between the two.
Question?
No. Done, Sheikh? Oh, we still have 5 minutes.
Okay. Anyone has a question? Yes.
Assalamu alaikum.
So,
I just retired. I have it's not the pension I was paying in there, 401k, 457. I cannot touch this yet. Did I supposed to be pay zakat on that? I do?
you are retired. You have an access to 100% of the amount.
No, I cannot touch the money yet. The money I supposed
Why
to
not?
get when I'm 60. When I turn 60 years old,
So you're not 60 yet?
yeah, I look like I'm 75, but I'm not.
Then why you are retired early? Why you give your wife like a hard time and just staying home? Go back to work.
I want to go back. I do.
Well, the default rule here is that whatever accessible is zakatable. Whatever accessible is zakatable. If you apply for hardship or for a loan, how much you can withdraw from that account. Whatever you have an access to, you have to pay zakat, even if you do not borrow it.
On that money, whatever I can take
Right.
it out.
So you go with the withdrawable amount, accessible amount, minus any prescribed penalty or tax or whatever. You can deduct another maybe 10-15% fixed assets, because the stocks that you have in your 401k in your retirement account do not represent 100% commodities and merchandise. Each and every single company does have its own fixed assets that are zakat exempt, like offices and machineries and devices and software, and right. So you go with the withdrawable amount minus the prescribed penalty and tax, minus maybe 10-15% fixed asset, and the net amount, okay, is zakatable based on 2.5%, and you do the same every single year. Once you have an access to your account, then it is zakatable in full. And my advice, keep investing that money. You can roll over your 401k, make it IRA. I mean, consult with your financial advisor. Okay, maybe you can switch it to simple IRA, Roth IRA, regular IRA, to continue actually investing, because the more you invest, the more you set off the inflation, you set off the 2.5, 5% zakah. Because if you sleep on that money, within just a few years, the money will be gone. So do not like stop investing that money. You can take 2, 3, 4, 5, whatever you need for your living expenses, but the rest actually should be under investment. I mean, do not stop investing that money. Make sense? Alhamdulillah.
In addition to that is if you roll it into a self-directed IRA, you can invest in real estate, which is an interesting option for people that they don't know about.
How much is the percentage of the self-directed? Can you self-direct 100%?
I'm not sure, but I know with a company, you have to ask the people if you can actually make it self-directed. Sometimes that's not an option if you have a company. But I'm assuming if he has access to his funds after his...
So self-directed, is it up to your employer or up to the investment company like Fidelity, Schwab, and Vanguard?
I think they choose where to roll over.
I'm not sure about that personally.
So if you do have the self-directed investment, you can invest in gold, you can invest in REIT, right?
I don't think they allow me to, because of 2008, 2009, the market went down.
Right.
So I want to switch everything to gold. They say no, they don't allow. In New York State won't allow. My company.
I see.
Okay. Assalamu alaikum. My question is, what student loan options are available Islamically? Because there aren't many, and everywhere I ask, I get told about guidance for housing, but not anything for student loans.
It's now iqama time. The answer is go to a continuous charity and try to get interest-free loan from them. Continuous charity. If you are running out of resources, no financial aid, no scholarship, no grants, and the subsidized loan, okay, is not available or insufficient. Are you listening, Akhi? Are you listening?
Yeah.
Right. Then you can borrow money with interest for education. I mean, this is the official position of AMJA. Taking interest-bearing unsubsidized loan for higher education purposes is allowed as a dispensation for those who do not have any other resources. You can borrow money with interest for higher education purposes, if and only if this is the only source for you. And
From
again,
any institution?
this is a kind of exception, not a default. Riba is still haram, but people who do not have other sources actually are exempt from this. So this is the official position of AMJA.
So from any place, or public or private loans? There's public and private loans.
No, I'm giving you the fiqh rules here.
Okay.
Unsubsidized loan is allowed as a dispensation for those who are running out of resources, period.
Okay, thank you.
جزاك الله خير. سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك أشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت أستغفرك وأتوب إليك.
Thank you so much once again, Dr. Ma'in Alqudah, for giving us more than enough time. Since yesterday he was here for khutbah, and then today he came down for this event. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala put barakah in your life. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala accept the efforts that you have been doing and serving the community. I would request the brothers to please do not forget Guidance College to support. They are, mashallah, doing amazing job educating the Muslim community through the United States. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala accept. And I would like to thank everyone who came down tonight. And don't forget, when you go back, to have a cup of coffee with some dry cake roast, inshallah. We have a muazzin here, a young man, to give the azan.
الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله الله أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن محمد رسول الله أشهد أن محمد رسول الله حي على الصلاة حي على الصلاة حي على الفلاح حي على الفلاح